thank you. Great turnout today, and without further ado, Miss Lauren Grant.
Hi, I'm Lauren. I'm a senior at Ararat High School, right over there. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. For my senior project, I chose the subject of a community garden, as you all know. Let's talk about senior capstone at Mount Ararat. The goal is for each student to develop a project that demonstrates certain skills, like being an effective communicator, a quality worker, problem solver, and integrative and informed thinker. So that's the broad overview of the project. Some people they teach themselves an instrument. Some people's projects are more community service based. So for my project, as you know, I chose to do a community garden. At first I wanted to do a garden for myself, but due to the time constraints of the project and my lack of gardening ability, I chose to do a community garden. And so I guess the next part of the process was trying to decide on the location. And Highland Green stood out to me because I have prior experience here. I've worked at the Catties River Preserve. I've had classes that visit the preserve, and I've worked at summer camps. And you all probably know my mom, Amber Grant. She works here, so she was helpful in initiating the process. Highland Green seemed like the perfect location, just because of the sense of community here, the connectiveness with nature, and the sense of community service, which I think are ingrained in this project, and why I thought it would be easily implemented here. So let's talk about the process. The next step in the process for everyone doing a capstone project at Mount Ararat is to find your mentor. There's supposed to be someone to guide you through the process. And I chose Will Honan and Dave Mosley as my mentors, and they've been extremely helpful. Will has great connections with resources here at Highland Green, and Dave, as a resident, he's been really helpful with brainstorming and giving that perspective as well. I couldn't have done it without their help, so thank you guys. So together we worked with vendors and friends of Highland Green to establish the project outline and determine if this was indeed a possibility. And that helped ensure that the process could go smoothly, and it was we could possibly gather funds and start the project here. And so now we have most of the process laid out. So here's just a basic overview of the details of the garden. We had thought that it would be best for it to be a vegetable garden, raised bed, and located next to the community center. So right over there between the tennis court and the community center. You can see there, I took a picture of it. So right there in the foreground is where we were thinking the location could be. So the basic design would be, as I said, raised beds, cedar, and 4 feet by 12 feet, and then about 1.5 feet high. And as I said, there will be breathing. There is the conceptual plan given to us by Ryan Russell. He put a lot of effort into it. That's sort of the broad overview of it. Up to the left, upper left, you can see the community center. Lower right is the tennis court, and then the croquet court down in the bottom left. Here's a closer view of it. You can see the 3 beds right there. On either end, there are shrubs and landscape boulders that he's put there. And you can see that he's included possible irrigation lines and already existing drainage. So it's very detailed, and it was a helpful visual for us as we were planning. There's a list of materials. It's comprehensive. It has a list of everything we need for the beds, surrounding the beds, the shrubs and boulders, like I said, and the water supply. And we went through and we discussed possible vendors and resources for each of the materials, so we have an idea of where each of those will come from. Here's a list of partners. These are people who have offered their labor or materials or some sort of help for the project. So these are people who are interested in helping out. more than I expected coming into this. I didn't think that it would be so easy to find resources, but here I guess everyone's nice and helpful, and it's been a great experience overall. So firstly, another sort of layer we could add to this is something to do with the produce that's grown there. Wild Duck Club has expressed interest in receiving some ingredients from the garden to be used in menu items. So you might have a salad with greens grown here at Highland Green. So that was a cool idea, and they were definitely really receptive to that idea and willing to incorporate that into their menu. Another possible outlet for the garden would be to donate to Mako's Hunger Prevention Program. As you all probably know, Highland Green residents are a really big contributor to Mako's Hunger Prevention. And we had thought that it would be an interesting way to give back, to have some sort of little farmer's market here, some way to sell the produce and then donate those funds and the proceeds from that to Mako's Hunger Prevention. They said that they would be willing to be involved with that or just simply receive the produce directly from the garden. So that's definitely a possibility to think about. So another layer to the project is composting. I don't think that there is a composting system in place here as of right now, but we had thought it would be interesting and a good idea to have that resource for residents and have them separate all their compostable waste, put it in a little branded bucket from Highland Green and set it out, and then it'll be picked up. Wild Duck Pub has also offered to contribute compostable waste, so that would generate a lot too. There's the possibility of having a composting bin right here and then creating our own compost, using it in the garden. So that would be just a way to incorporate more people into the project that might not normally be interested in gardening. And just another idea to think about. Another way to supplement the garden would be to install some sort of gutter system on the community center, collect the rainwater in a rainwater barrel. That's already been pledged by Dave and Will, so thanks for that. And then that could be used to water the garden. Just another layer to think about. And finally, after the garden would be implemented, it would be built. Obviously, the project would be in the community's hands and yours to shape into something that would fit the community at Highland Green. So possibly a garden club could form to oversee the garden and activities that go on there, and change it in whatever way best suits the residents. And we were thinking that possibly the activities committee could be involved, sort of getting people together to do things at the garden, and maybe the woodworking group once the time comes to fix anything to do with the planters themselves or possibly building it. So yeah, just a way for the project to lend itself better to the community. So we have basic plans in place, but now it's sort of in the hands of the community to shape it into what would work best.
And that's Lauren's plan. And, so if anyone has any questions for Lauren or for me or Dave, who worked with Lauren, now would be the time. Maybe you could scroll back to the vendor page or the partner page. Does anyone have any questions? Or is anyone clear on what the plan looks like?
I'm impressed. It looks like kind of a nifty project. I think it's one slide back, Lauren, where you show us toward the beginning, where you show us the actual pictures. I'm interested in the dimensions of the surface of in other words, how much can we grow? I'm trying to figure out what's the square footage of those 3 planters.
Maybe if you could go to the
You had square footage.
planter list.
Oh,
Yep.
There you go.
That's right.
So it's 4 feet wide, but the timbers look like they're what, 4 inches, 4 by 4s?
Oh, that's just a picture. I got
That's
from the
just a
internet.
picture.
Gotcha, okay. So those dimensions are exterior dimensions, so it might actually be
A foot was.
a foot off.
They're 12 by 4
Okay, well, roughly 48, so 3
Times
150 square feet of growing surface.
Yep, and this is an initial plan for beds. Now, if this is something that kind of takes off, well, maybe there's other spots, but this is, the initial plan.
Right.
Yep.
So intensively planted, you could grow a fair, you could grow a fair amount.
Oh, good. Sounds good to me.
You're on all that little.
Yeah, this is just sort of the plan they've laid out, but it's open to changes and anything that you think would be better.
Well, some of us like that it's raised, so we don't have to bend over.
Well, we'll see. Lauren, why do you tell? What was our initial idea? Remember back in the beginning?
We had it. We thought we didn't even think about that area over there. We were thinking maybe it could be in the retention pond because that was like a big open area that wasn't being used. But obviously, accessibility would be an issue.
We're gonna have rock concerts there, it's great.
Well, it was actually Ryan Russell was nice enough. He's our landscape architect. He volunteered his layouts. He's laid out community gardens before, so his visual was really the way to go. And I was really, for no in particular reason at all, I was against raised beds. I didn't know what I was talking about. I don't know why. Well, I didn't even know what they were, actually. But after the group was discussing it, I said, well, that makes all the sense in the world. And I went back to my office.
Question back here.
How much sun will that position get?
I think it gets pretty much full sun throughout the day.
Until about 3 in the afternoon, the sun comes down. So it's a lot of sun.
Yeah, it starts.
Yeah.
Sun out right now.
It's nice because the hottest part of the day would be sheltered a little bit from the sun, which might be nice to help as well. Gets a lot of good morning sun midday. We kind of looked at it throughout the course of the day, and it seemed an area that lent itself to that. And also close to potential water, I think, was one of the things that we had.
Yeah, there's a spigot right out there on that edge of the community center.
What provisions have you made for predators, since we live on a conservation area with lots of animals that love to eat vegetation?
I don't think we thought about that yet.
We talked about it, but we haven't quite addressed it. So once this, again, gets implemented, that's probably something that needs to be discussed. Does anyone know anything about that?
Yeah, garden.
Good.
What's the time frame?
We were hoping to start building it either this summer or next summer, depending on whether the community is for the idea and when they want it to be built.
Yeah, I think what this needs is now a group of residents to come and say, okay, we want to do it. I mean, yes, we have, can you go back to the partners list? Just because it'll remind me, all these folks have agreed, including Dan Bowie from Yankee Yardworks, who's over here in the room, has agreed to help with labor and equipment and things. He knows what he's doing. Obviously, Ryan Russell, landscape architect, Hancock Lumber with materials, Hildreth and White Construction, any way they can help. Crooker Construction, you guys all know Sean, for example, with the backhoe. He's already locating landscape rocks. Of course, Jerry's Plumbing has agreed. Somebody else in this group will dig a ditch. He could do an irrigation line. Plus, Dave and I are going to personally buy rain barrel. What's the other? Oh, Quality Insulation does gutters. They'd be willing to do a little gutter to collect into a rain barrel. So I think we got everything we need. We just need to know there's interest. And by the level of attendance today, I think it seems like there is. So, and by the way, Lauren's been able to acquire $1,500 as well, and that's cash pledges for incidental, because obviously there'll be other things that would pop up, but this is all planned and paid for, but it's gotta be a resident-driven thing with help.
Is someone donating the soil for these beds?
Well, we have $1,500 in pledges, and plus you have some feelers out with somebody not on this list, a couple different people. If there's other suggestions, who was the group you met with?
Urban Garden Center, and we were gonna contact Skillings, but
Yeah.
we contacted them.
So the hope is that the answer is yes. Do you have, unless you have a pile? Do you have a pile?
No, they hauled it away
Okay.
yesterday.
Being new to Maine, how many growing seasons, is there more than one growing season in this part of the country?
There's almost
Or should I ask, how long is the one growing season that you got? They're short.
That's
I have very little experience gardening, but yeah, not very long.
Well, I would, I had a niece who had raised beds, high raised beds near Belfast. You put pipe clamps on the outside of those raised beds with PVC pipe over, which you can encase in plastic. She grew stuff all winter.
Yeah.
I mean, and the thing is, you probably know more about this than I do. You've got to have a lot of drainage in the bottom of a bed that tall, which means for us, folks like us, the higher you build it, the easier it is for us to work in.
One of the thoughts, the dimension of it was just to kind of get an idea of what we had for space right over there, but how high it could be. You just need to build the timbers you can modify.
Yeah, so you're looking at the footprint.
Right.
And I think, according to I think there's already there's a drain right there, so that could maybe help with drainage in the general area, probably not in front of the bed.
And you need it like within the bottom of the bed so that it has a place to exit.
And that's why Ryan had suggested these landscape boulders and shrubbery, including blueberry and roses, or to be determined, so that when there's not as much growing, there's still some interest there.
Yeah, you might need secret hose to make sure it stays damp, because they drain really fast. It'll drain really fast. It won't hold water well unless you put a lot of stuff.
I think he mentioned some material in the list there, I'm not sure. But again, perfect, yeah.
Any more questions?
I suppose first you'd have to decide what your goal was.
You mean like
You were saying that you could do it for the larger community, or people could do it for themselves, or you could do it for well done or whatever, but I guess you have to figure it out.
yeah, and I think that's more up to the people who are going to be using it too. So yeah, that could be a question posed at the garden club, or whatever community group gathers together to sort of work with the idea.
Well, and maybe a good thing to do to keep this idea moving forward is to collect a list of folks who are just interested, and then maybe those folks can all regather and say, okay, what do we think of all this? And just give the green light. We can start calling Dan and Crooker and whoever else and put this thing together as quickly as possible if needed. But I can tell there's a lot of interest, and there's going to be a lot of leadership.
I would also ask you to talk about the fact that people that you deal with were looking at this.
Well, thank you. Yeah. This has been something I've heard of.
We can't.
Dave had wanted me to mention people that don't live here, and what my experience is, more often than not, when people call here from wherever in the country, we get questions all the time. Do you have a community garden in Highland Green? And at the end, and when they find out no, the answer is why not? It's really something that people are very interested in. So I think this also adds a lot of panache and community spirit and value here. Yeah.
Now, I've got a question. Does that land have to be leveled at all? It seems to me it's pretty sloped.
Not sure. I know that looking at the plan, the access road. I know Ryan and Dan went and walked it.
Yeah.
And he laid this out at the bottom of the access road so there'd be easy access. And whether there needs to be a little bit of grading, I don't really know. I assume the boys can take care of that part.
Well, those are grades, aren't they, in the circles?
Yes.
On the
So
surface,
136 on one side and 138 on the other, it only tapers 2 feet before they go over.
There you go.
Also, if you're using raised beds, you can build the bed into a slope hill. I've done that before, and then you can contour what pitch you want the top of the bed to be, almost independent of what the ground is around it.
And then you put the short people on the high side, right?
You been there before, Lee? Well, Ryan had actually initially laid out some other beds. It's like, in the future, this might be a good spot, but the conceptual plans for the community center and where the croquet court actually is are two different things. So he had beds right in the middle of the croquet court. So get those out of the because one of the rumors going around is that the plan was to eliminate the croquet court. That was not the plan.
We're gonna develop a play sheet.
Well,
I think you should get an
well, yes. Well, I know if I speak for Dave, we're very proud of Lauren. She's done a great job putting this together and has made a great presentation. And we're going to debrief, and hopefully she'll have the very best presentation at Mount Ararat. That was really the goal.
That would be.
But,
Karen, Lauren, I have a question. How does this fit in with Mount Ararat now? Is it for a grade or?
It's actually required of every senior to graduate, so you just have to pass, or if you fail, you just redo the presentation. But yeah, it's just a requirement for graduation. So they say you passed and then you get to graduate. They score individual categories of your presentation and your process on a scale of 1 to 4. And so I think that you have to get at least all 2s and above. So it's not very difficult to pass it, but it would be nice to get a good score.
How many seniors are there?
I think there's 198.
So there's 198 in these projects.
Yeah. They range from different subjects. They're all interesting. We've had to, on the day that they present them, all the freshmen and sophomores and juniors, they get assigned to a room and they get to hear 4 seniors present theirs. So my freshman year was the first year they did it, and so I got to see sort of the evolution of the project. It's still sort of in its infancy. They're trying to work out the problems with it and stuff.
Follow-up question, is there a place here in Topsham that we can see would be one of these projects from the past?
I'm not sure.
wasn't one of your friends building a gun or something?
Yeah.
There's like little things, like, yeah, some kids, there's no standing projects, but that'd be interesting to find out.
Yeah, one of my friends did blacksmithing, which was cool. He was gonna make a sword, and then he realized that takes like years, and so he just made like a little hook. But yeah, some of them are really interesting. They're not a project you can really see. You'd have to see like the presentation of them. Not all of them have like a result. Like some people have to play the guitar.
Oh.
You could go ask that person to play the guitar.
Maybe down by the garden.
I think actually, if you went to the campus at Mount Ararat, a group of seniors last year made a shed that had green technologies built into it. And I'm not sure if they finished building it, but that would be something you could see.
Lauren, how long have you been working on this project? Is it a full year, or is it just this term, or what?
You can start the summer before your senior year if it's something that you need to do in the summer. I started it at the beginning of 2015, so the idea had been rolling around before then, but I started working with Will and Dave at the beginning of this year. And I present to my school at the end of April.
Great. And do you present to the entire school or just a group of people?
Just a group of people. There will be like 4 seniors presenting in whatever room, and maybe like 2 or 3 homerooms of underclassmen there watching, and parents are invited.
So your mom will actually get to see it?
Maybe. I told her not to come to this because it's actually right in there.
I can tell you she was way more nervous nervous than Lauren. So what do you folks think? What's next?
I think a sign up
Yeah,
for those interested would be a great way to start.
let's do it. Get the plans, get all the folks that are willing to help. Let's put Dan Bowie on the spot for a second. Hey, Dan. If anyone doesn't know, this is Dan Bowie, Yankee Yard Works. He does our landscape installation now. And what would you see as a first step in this process?
Well, first step is just to get, everybody on board with what they want.
Yeah.
And then basically we could level the ground to build however many planters everybody wants. And then, it can really go from there. To build the planters, it's just kind of like landscaping your house. If you don't have the money to landscape your whole house at once, you kind of build the certain parts of it, and we can grow it as it goes. And, it doesn't have to be start to finish. But I would just start by, leveling the ground, building the planters, letting everybody see what the planters are going to look like, and maybe even get some planters planted, and people get in the feel of it, and then, it could just be a work in progress. As everybody sees, what's going to happen here, they might say, well, you know what, can we do this, or can we do that? I think it's going to change a lot as people actually see, what's going to go on at them. Everybody can look at the plan and be like, yeah, that's going to be nice. But when you actually see the boxes and everything, and stuff starts growing, and people can actually go there and, pick a vegetable or whatever, or spices or whatever, people decide to plant there. So that would be my plan, is to actually, get the ground level and ready and with the proper drainage, build the boxes and start, planting them.
Sounds pretty easy. Well, we talked about the actual building. We can get the materials delivered here, and then I know, I'm pretty sure, like on the bocce court, the boxes around the bocce court, who built those? Was it a group of residents? I think it was.
Yeah.
Or then like the group of people who built the stage when there was the tent over there, So the question is, do, residents want to build these boxes? Or Carl has offered his services. Dan White from Hildreth and White could get somebody from a framing crew to build. But either way, it might be something fun for people who live here to do. But it's up to, either way is good. So another thing to think about. Bob, you might be able to help.
The one thing I see is to raise them up at least another 6 inches. So you've got them at least 2 feet off that road.
Change one back.
Well, the first one you showed was 3.5 feet. You said those boards are 12 inches high? 4 by 12.
See, I'm going by 1.5 high.
But if you look at those, that's a 4 by 12 up in the top. Another one, another one, another one. The other one, the last one's halfway buried, so that makes it about 3.5 feet.
Well, I think that was just a picture Lauren picked off the internet.
I know, but
Yeah.
that would be, to me, that would be.
Oh.
Building.
Oh, that would be, I see, yeah.
And
Well,
2 to 3 feet.
we can certainly upgrade the specs, so there's in the material.
Well, how high are the ones at the Highlands, and are they high enough for the residents there? Does it,
I have never really, I have no idea about that, I haven't looked at it.
I think they're only about a foot off the ground. They're not very high.
Okay, yeah.
Well, okay, sorry.
will our ground crew be like beeswax around it?
If you look at
As
the
needed,
design,
sure.
there won't be much weed whacking at all, because around the boxes is either crushed stone or reclaimed asphalt.
That's right, yeah, the way it's designed is to reclaim around
Yeah.
with, moisture barrier, whatever it is, material underneath, so I think it's gonna be low maintenance.
And the bed, I've built beds like this before, and we usually build them so people can actually just kind of sit on the edge. So you think of them about this, about this high, and they like it so they don't actually have to kneel down, they can actually sit on the edge of the bed
And watch approach.
or whatever they want.
Oh, yeah.
But that's what I've commonly heard people say, I want to build so I can at least sit on the edge of the bed.
Sounds good.
I would garden in a garden like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it a heck of a lot easier. So, does anyone have any other questions for Lauren?
Question. Has the food pantry asked us what type of food they'd like us to provide them?
They haven't asked anything yet. They just said that they would love to receive whatever.
Whatever we grow?
Yeah, money or food or whatever.
Dave, do you want to address that, or Jane?
I work at the food bank, and in the pantry portion, there are 3 different sections. And we get produce from local gardeners every summer. This time of year, it's tough to take people through when we don't have the produce. And they offer anything and often provide recipes. So if you have kale out there and somebody's never heard of kale, what do I do with it? We can give them a recipe, they'll try it. Often they come back and take it again. Other times they say, that's not for me. I tried it once. And that's fine. The variety is great. But I think if could be used immediately at the pub, or were sold here among the residents, the funds would be put to good use for sure through the local organization would purchase from Good Shepherd Food Bank.
I think it was Dave who mentioned at one point somewhere else, maybe a mini farmers market set up almost on an honor system, where stuff gets laid out, people come and take what they want and pay, and the proceeds go. And as Jane says, they can stretch those out a long way. So it may not be actual food delivered down there; it may be proceeds.
And the need is great. 8 new clients just last Wednesday when I worked. From 11 to 4. 8 were brand new with a need that they didn't have before. The number of people served is about 10% of the Brunswick community. Yeah. And it's not just, it's Brunswick, Harpswell, I believe Topsham, and I don't remember all the other towns that are covered by that one. But the need is there, so anything that could go, whether it's produce or funds, would be put to good use.
Well, I think if everyone doesn't mind, first of all, here's a large-scale version of Brian's plan. Remember, this is a conceptual plan, but if anyone wants to take a peek, here's a couple versions. But then why doesn't anyone who's interested kind of write their name down? And then what do you think about, we'll just send out one more communication, wrapping up, summarizing Lauren's program today, and then maybe proposing another gathering where everyone who's interested gets together, talks amongst themselves about this, and let us know, or I can poke in.
Figures out about timing and what they'd like to do, when they'd like to do it. I think is probably the important thing.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Lauren.